Welcome back to the garage, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Got a little project I wanted to address. I've got a wrist pin that not a wrist pin bushing that I'm not happy enough with to leave in here. So we're going to press another one in today. I'm in the process of pressing this one out. I've got everything set up. I've just took a 11/16 impact socket, and I think that's a 13/16 maybe. I'm not sure what size that is. I've got it turned down. Anyway, this will push the wrist pin bushing through, and this will be a cavity to where it'll catch it. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start pushing this one out, and we'll start with the process of getting this the new wrist pin bushing ready for pressing in. I've got a little prep work to do on it. Anyway, let me get you on the tripod and we'll get this process started here. Maybe wondering to yourself already, you know, why are we doing this? What's the point of just taking care of the one bushing? And the point of it all is we've got a really good bottom end, with the exception of wrist pin bushing that is it's just not where I want it to be. And instead of tearing this whole thing down and wasting time and money, we're just going to put a new wrist pin bushing in it, and just it's to help the customer out. You know, we could tear it down and whatever, but you know, there's a responsibility to the customer and with their money, you know. So let's get this thing pushed out real quick. We've got it on the run there. There it is. This bushing is in actually a lot better shape than some. Some of these you will have a really rough joint. This one's going to go in okay. I've got a little bit of a hump right here, but it'll press down. It will press down. There's room for that to relieve itself, you know, when it pushes through the rod. That little bit will go down, and you'll see that as we go forward with this process, we're going to be taking a reamer and we're going to ream it very slowly, you know, when we ream this out, because that is not a surface. This isn't something you're just going to press in there and put a wrist pin through and it'll work. It's just not that way. You have too much stress on it when you push it through, so on and so forth. One thing I want to do, so I'm not going to have to dress this top, it doesn't look like. That feels pretty good. I've seen some of them that are really rough. I'm just going to chamfer a little, put me just a little chamfer on this to help get that started through. That edge is a little coarse. It's just going to make my job a little bit easier. One more note. I've got to drill 3 oiling holes. Let me think how to put this. I have to drill 3 oiling holes after I get this in the rod. Okay, I don't want to be running my drill bit through any of this where this joint is, so I'm going to put this toward the beam of the rod. I'm going to position it that way when I start it into that rod. If it's up this way and I'm coming through the rod, it's just not a good idea. It's never a good idea to try to run a drill through a seam like that. It doesn't usually end well. I've got this started fairly square into this with putting the joint toward the beam of the rod. Okay, with that little chamfer I put on it, it makes it start a lot easier. And I took this, I guess this is a little a sheet metal hammer. I don't know, I've used it for years. And I started it in this side, you know, started it in this way, and then tapped it around to square. You don't want to beat on that, obviously. You don't want to beat on that. So I've got everything started. What I'm going to do is now set it up with my sockets in place, and we're going to take the C-clamp, get it all set back up, and we're going to push this through the connecting rod. Okay, now from the factory you'll see these pressed in to flush on this side. This one is pressed into flush, and it leaves just a little bit of a lip back here. So it comes to flush here, and they leave it off there. I just go to you know, where it's flush and just a little bit beyond. Apologize for the horrible camera work, guys. This really there's no good way for me to do this. I'm not set up for any such thing. Professional camera work. I wish I could do a little better job for you. This you probably won't need. I use this wrench on this C-clamp because my old arthritic hands can't take much abuse, so I use all the help I can get. Put the 11/16 back on it and just give it just a little bit of twist, centering it up in there. Did, like I say, it's not something you need to do or have to do. That's just me. So okay, now we've got our bushing in there. What we've got to do now is get it drilled before I start ream, and I want to get the when you drill it, it's going to leave burrs and so on and so forth. I want to go ahead and get all the oiling holes drilled into that. That way, when I run the reamer through, it's going to clean everything up real nice, and we'll have a good fit and finish. While drilling these oiling holes, it's something you probably want to take a lot of care with if you're not familiar with this kind of thing. These, like I say, you know, with my videos, it's always I'm trying to really appeal to the people that need help along. For you, those of you who have plenty of experience, this isn't for you. I'm not trying to make myself sound smart. It's to help the others. What I want to do is get a little, get me a little lubricating oil. I got some oil I can use for assembly here. Just put a little oil in here. What you want to be careful of is you don't want to just take off with this thing, because that drill will want to pull you through and you'll damage the other side of this wrist pin bushing. I always listen for the pitch to change, you know, because it will start as you go through. It's gonna, just before you make contact, or just before it goes through, you're going to hear the pitch change. You'll hear the pitch of this drill change. You want to stop there, because that's when it's getting ready to pull you right through there. Right there. I'm reversing that. Okay, I'm going to reverse that. Just put me a little something in here, just in case if I go through there, I've got a little something to help me out, protect that. Okay, all right. I measured the inside of that wrist pin bushing at around 840. Okay, so that's where I'm going to start setting this up at. The wrist pin itself measures 866. That's where we're trying to get to. So we've only got, what is that, 26 thousandths, something like that I've got to take out of that wrist pin bushing. So that's not a lot of material. So you want to go, I would recommend anyway, go very slow with this, because before we're done with it, I've got to stop before this wrist pin bushing will slide through there. When it just starts to fit, I want to finish all that with a wheel cylinder hone and take out the last little bit that way to have a very good fit. You can really take too big a bite with one of these reamers if you're not careful. Okay, so I've set I went ahead and measured out 840 on this mic. I don't know why I loosened that, and it needs to be tightened. See, I've got a little, that's still taking a little too much. I want to get this just, that might do it. The first pass you make is going to be a little weird for you, because you're going through with all of this. I don't know if I'm getting a good camera shot of that. It's rough. It's going to be rough in here. And if you're not careful, this is going to be, you know, you can get it cocked and take too much off of one side. You want to go through this thing really straight. You don't want to get crooked with that reamer in any way. And it's, to me, I like to let it glide itself along. So what we're going to do is get a little cutting oil, and we're going to start running, make the first pass with this reamer through there, going really slow and really careful. Use some WD-40 here. I don't know if I like that or not. It might be taking a little too much. Let me see here. Like I say, this first pass is really weird because you have so much of that. Yeah, that's a little, that's going to be taking too much. Let's get this thing back in the vise and see. We'll take a little less bite here. This would be a good demonstration on how to adjust one of these. As you want to loosen that top. It's not a nut. We'll call it a nut for lack of better words. We want to loosen that, and we're going to back this off. The more I tighten this, it's going to flare that out this way. So the more we cut, we're going to be going up the shaft that way. I want to loosen that. Let me see where we're at with this. You want to measure across these blades. I can go a little bit more. I took a little, it's just a little too much. I was too busy gabbing and not paying attention to my work. Alright, we'll see if we can go through right there. Let me snug that down. Make sure everything's good and snug. Alright, let's try it again. Okay, we're cutting a lot better since we got the we backed it off. Cutting a lot better, and I'm being careful not to pick up or push down on this. I want to kind of show you, this is what's coming out with a pass, and it's almost like nothing really. It's very super fine. It's all gets glommed together, and it looks like some substance there because of the oil, the WD-40, but it collects it, and you're not looking for shards. You don't want to get aggressive with this. Okay guys, using my caliper, we measured out at we're at 848 with this cut. Okay, I want to make sure that I don't get aggressive at this point, because I know those numbers seem very far apart, but we're talking about thousandths. Okay, so we're going to set this up. Just going to back it off just a skosh. Okay, and we're going to tighten this, and we're going to make another pass. I hope I'm getting a good picture for you guys. That's what the cut looks like with the reamer. Which, you know, that doesn't look bad, but that's not ready to accept a wrist pin. We want a smoother, a nicer finish on that, which that wheel cylinder hone will give us. This wrist pin measured 866. I've ringed this. I've made several passes, and I can just feel it wanting to start through there. I measured it at 863. So I've got a little material to take out. I went and bought a brand new wheel cylinder hone. Excuse the camera work there. I went and bought a new wheel cylinder hone. My other one was a little worse for wear, and I've set it up with a moderate amount of tension, not an extreme amount of tension on those stones. I want to get it in the, use all of my hands here. Okay, I'm going to get it in that bushing, get it oiled up. and start the honing process. Right now, I measured the bore of this wrist pin bushing, and we're at 865. So I'm going to keep honing, and what we're going to shoot for is anywhere between 4 thousandths and 7 thousandths clearance on this. I'm just taking it real slow. I'm keeping my hone really clean. Let's see. Let me go and zero this out. Okay, we're going to keep going. I'm going to use this pin as my primary gauge. You can see just about to slide through there. And what really, to me, when I can get that to slide through that bore with a little oil on it smoothly, that's where I want to be. Yeah, I'll measure it, of course, after that, but I'm going to use that pin the majority of the time in this process. I'm just going to keep honing and checking. Alright, gang, I'm at 2 thousandths. We're at 2 thousandths clearance on this, and that wrist pin will just pass through. I want to get me just another couple thousandths here. And I'm keeping, like I think I mentioned before, I'm keeping those stones clean because they will plug with that material. Bushing out here. I'm gonna leave that right there. I like that. In doing this, I realize, like I said before, you know, a lot of guys would disagree with me using this process. But it's about the customer. Sometimes it's what it comes down to. If you can do a good job for the customer and save them money, do it. You know. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this process, and thanks for watching.